Now then, it's time for our regular Monday Asia View segment. And South Korea says it is to fully suspend its 2018 tension-reducing military deal with North Korea. Now, the announcement from South's National Security Council coming after Pyongyang sent hundreds of trash-filled balloons across the border. Now, Seoul partially suspended that agreement last year after the North put a spy satellite into orbit, but the NSC said it would tell the cabinet to suspend the entire effect of the deal until mutual trust between the two Koreas is restored. In the past week, North Korea's floated hundreds of huge balloons to dump rubbish on South Korea. It's also simulated nuclear strikes against its neighbour and allegedly as well jammed GPS navigation signals. The South's National Security Director has called the moves absurd, irrational acts of provocation that a normal country can't imagine.
We will not sit idly by in the case of more provocations. We will maintain readiness to act. The government will do what is necessary to protect the South Korean people. North Korea's launch of rubbish balloons and GPS signal jamming are absurd and irrational acts of provocation. North Korea aims to cause anxiety among the South Korean people through these lowly acts.
Well, as I say, we're going to talk about that as part of our regular Monday Asia View. We're going to cross to Beijing, talk to our correspondent who joins us from there, Yena Lee. So, Yena, Pyongyang now announcing then it is going to stop, it says, sending these trash balloons.
Yes, Pyongyang claims to have sent some 15 tons of garbage in retaliation to South Korean activists sending over anti-regime leaflets, USBs with K-pop and K-drama content on them in the other direction. Now, using balloons isn't particularly new. It's an old Cold War tactic. And although, K-pop and feces might seem a little silly on the surface, it's a serious reminder of just how close the two countries are. Seoul proper and its surrounding areas account for 50% of the population of South Korea. Gyeonggi province, which surrounds the capital, borders North Korea, in fact. This is why the sending of leaflets by rights activists is also controversial within South Korean society too, with critics arguing that it's an unnecessary provocation. Back in 2020, South Korea's parliament actually passed a law to criminalize the act, but last year the Constitutional Court struck it down in the name of free speech, and now the current Conservative government's National Security Council has just announced that it will suspend a inter-Korean rapprochement deal over this saga.
Yeah, now let's talk about something else as well as part of our Asia View section. It's 35 years ago today that Chinese troops began to move into Tiananmen Square to stop that pro-democracy movement in central Beijing. Soldiers, of course, opened fire on protesters, brought about an end to weeks of demonstrations. Tomorrow is the anniversary, then, of that massacre. Any sign of any commemorations where you are?
Absolutely not. As per usual, it was a massive movement that lasted for weeks, as you say, with people demanding greater freedom of the press, democratic reforms, anti-inflationary measures, etc. And it took place in hundreds of cities around the country. And the crackdown was, of course, brutal. In 1989, Chinese authorities said that around 200 people died, but estimates vary wildly. A UK diplomatic cable from the Times said that there were some 10,000 fatalities. So it's an extremely sensitive issue here that authorities really try to scrub from citizens' collective memory. Around this date every year, authorities increase surveillance on victims' families and on survivors. Parents of dead students are not allowed to mourn publicly. Dissidents are often detained this time of year. Students don't learn about what took place on June the 4th, 1989. Censors erase all mention of it from the internet, and those who do wish to commemorate have had to resort to creative ways to spark discussions, such as referring to May 35th instead of June the 4th. But as the years do go by, Stuart, younger generations of Chinese may not know what happened then, let alone have the opportunity to discuss it.
Yeah, no, there is one place, isn't there, where public memorials were allowed. That's Hong Kong. But what's it like there now?
A silence that really speaks volumes there, Stuart. Hong Kong and to some extent Macau used to be the only places on Chinese soil where commemorations were possible, and the former was really well attended too. For decades, vigils in Hong Kong's Victoria Park attracted tens of thousands of people every year, and officially that event was banned in 2020 because of anti-COVID-19 measures. But it's safe to say that Beijing's national security law that was pushed through the same year has made it impossible for such gatherings to take place in any case. And since that crackdown on Hong Kong's relative freedoms, hundreds of thousands of people have left the city. Nearly 300 people have been arrested as well. And just last week, of course, 14 pro-democracy activists were found guilty of state subversion. So this year, just like the last few, many commemorations are set to take place abroad in places with large Chinese diaspora communities.
Yena, thanks very much. Yena Lee there with this week's Asia View here on France 24. Thank you.